Welcome back, our loyal viewers. I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin.
Best Friends Review Movies. Today, the movie is Observe and Report, and it is a black comedy. I want to emphasize that term, black comedy.
This movie is fucking dark as shit.
It really is.
But I love it. Oh, by the way, spoilers. A lot of people compare it to Paul Blart because, unfortunately, it came out around the same time. I think this movie is more realistic. Ronnie, played by Seth Rogen, he wants respect and recognition more than anything, and he wants to fit in.
I say he has a high ego, which a lot of the characters do.
He definitely has a superiority complex, which is so funny because he's a fucking mall cop. And in the mall, he is king of his domain. The owner of the mall is this limp-wristed guy who just goes along with what Ronnie does. The rest of the security force are also just bumbling, incompetent fools who Ronnie sees as like part of his army.
I think that plays into his perception of what a man should be. You see scenes where he's shooting guns at the shooting range and he throws his weight around and he acts like, I'm the big, tough mall cop. You gotta respect my authority.
Yep.
And then he goes after Brandy, who is this very sexualized woman. You get this idea that Ronnie, he's going to start as this arrogant, deluded guy, and he's going to have this redemption arc. However, he is very consistently not a good person. One of the major problems I have with this movie is that we never see him redeem himself. We never see him change as a person. It makes me think, why should we root for this character? Why do we want him to succeed?
I think that's what makes him a tragic character, is that no matter what he does, he has this disorder. He basically is mentally ill.
The movie specifies that he does have bipolar disorder, which makes sense considering how he acts in the movie and his mood swings. It makes sense. I liked how experimental it was. With the montages, they utilized the eclectic soundtrack, and I thought it was very appropriate for the most part. And I love that they try to tackle different genres of movies too within the movie. Anna Faris, she's walking to her car at night, and it's played like a horror film.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. And I acknowledge that she is a very good actress. The dumb blonde role that she played was pretty funny for the most part. The chemistry between Rogen and Ferris, it was very lukewarm to me. They don't really react that strongly to each other, and I thought that was missed potential. I wish that she would have been visibly disgusted with him more. I wish she would have had a freak out, told Ronnie to his face, I will never date you. You're fucking disgusting. I hate you. I thought the detective and Ronnie had more chemistry.
Interesting. So Nick doesn't think the movie went far enough. All right.
Yeah, it really felt like she was just a secondary character in the grand scheme of things. Keep in mind, this whole movie is shot from Ronnie's perspective. It's his world, and every interaction he has, it's framed from how he views this interaction. The main love interest, Nell, played by Colette Wolfe, she just seems to love him no matter what he tells her. And I'm thinking, okay, she's supposed to be one of the more realistic characters. Shouldn't she be like, hey, what you're saying to me is a bit harsh, or you shouldn't think that way about this person? But she never does that. She's just like, okay, you said that, but I still love you for some reason.
Yeah, well, as far as Nell goes, I really like their relationship. I see it as one of the highlights in this movie. It's sort of like the only light part of Ronnie's world, and the rest of his world is surrounded in this darkness and despair. And Nell is really the only person that he interacts with in a positive way, and she senses that. Ronnie's the only person that acts nice to her. She has to interact with her boss, who's a total asshole, played brilliantly by Patton Oswalt.
I can't imagine someone actually making fun of someone for not being able to walk. And here's the thing. I understand it's a movie. It's played for laughs. It's supposed to be funny.
It's totally not realistic.
It's totally not realistic. However, you can only remove so much logic to the point where this would never happen. I think that really the reason why they made him such an asshole is because they just wanted him to get beat up by Ronnie. They wanted him to have his redemption moment.
Yep.
And this is another problem I have with the movie. While Ronnie gets a lot of development and you see the multiple layers to his character, I don't get that from anybody else. Everybody else seems very one note. Going back to my point that every interaction is shown from Ronnie's perspective. You're following his story. The fact that they tried to make the detective an antagonist in this world, even though Ronnie is already kind of a villain, he left him out in the ghetto basically to die. He hates Ronnie's guts and he wants to see him suffer.
Ronnie is completely in the wrong for basically this whole movie. He's so focused on catching the streaker that he completely loses sight of everything else. He lets his fucking underling steal from the mall due to his negligence. He ruins the investigation of that underling. He doesn't catch the streaker till the very end. He believes so much that, oh, just because I went out on one date and I slept with Brandy once, like, oh, now I'm her boyfriend. Totally not. He's a creepy weirdo.
I think the way the movie is presenting this character is that he is an anti-hero.
Yes.
That you are supposed to root for him and that you're supposed to be invested in his journey. But I say I'm not invested in his journey because I do want to see him fail, yet the world around him is sort of enabling that behavior.
The opening montage is just of regular mall goers going about their day, and it shows a very cynical view. It kind of reminds me of Dawn of the Dead's take on consumer culture. You see like bratty children getting shouted at by their parents. You see a bunch of fat Americans eating ice cream.
I actually really liked that montage. Humor is very subjective. We all know this.
Yeah.
But it is. We both found this movie really funny. There were moments or performances that I thought, wow, this is really blunt and abrasive.
There's a line in the movie where this cop says, you know, I thought this was going to be kind of funny, but it's actually kind of sad. That's basically the whole movie. Can you imagine Paul Blart having as much introspection as this movie does?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where one of Ronnie's security guard friends at the mall basically turns to Ronnie and says, doesn't it bother you that people see us as jokes? And I'm like, God, that's so fucking deep for a movie that could have been so stupid. It could have just been Seth Rogen going, hey, let's get high, like the whole time. And it's not that. And that's why I fucking love it so much.
If you do see this movie as a really funny movie, even if it is mean-spirited in jest, you'll like the movie more. For me, I didn't really connect with it as much as I would have liked to. Although I acknowledge that there were dramatic moments too, it still felt like it was a sketch, like it was an SNL sketch, and that I didn't really resonate with.
It's time for the final rating!
I am dead smack in the middle here. There are things about this movie that I like. The editing, the soundtrack, some of the performances, some of the moments were good. But there were some problems too. So this movie gets a 5.
Well, it's going to be a 9 out of 10 for me. I really resonate with this movie. Maybe it's because I do have such a cynical view of humanity. I think this movie just captures it perfectly. And it is ridiculous. It's definitely over the top, but I'm captivated. Even though Ronnie is a terrible person and there's a lot of things in this movie that don't make sense, that are definitely logical leaps, things that I think they could have included that would have made it better. Regardless, I think the journey is just so captivating.
I am glad that I watched this movie. I did find it very fascinating to watch. I didn't think that the movie that I was going to get was the movie I ended up getting.
Hey man, at least you didn't fucking hate it.
Oh, no, I had fun with it. Thank you, folks, for listening to us talk about another movie that got slept on at the box office.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button so we can eat.
Send us your comments. Tell us what you thought of us. Tell us if you have recommendations for movies we should watch in the future.
Yes. And shower us with compliments, please, because I need compliments to survive.
We're insecure as hell. We need them.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a normal.
Yeah. Who said this? Like, yeah.
I'm just a normal.
Who said this? Like.